Alright, welcome back everybody. Off to a bit of a side project here, just while I'm recovering from a bad cold after dental surgery. Didn't want to do anything too complicated, so I have this shell reamer that I picked up with a bunch of other tooling. I've kept in a box in its proper container for quite some time, and I thought, how do I use this thing? And the more I looked into it, I realized that these are actually quite special and require a special arbor. The inside of this shell reamer is actually tapered. There's a very slight taper. I believe it's 0.6 degrees, 1/8 of an inch per foot. And so I found one on the internet and or on eBay. They basically look something like that. So I kind of guessed at what the measurements were going to be based on what I could find on the internet and what I could measure up with the shell reamer that I have. It's got an MT3 shank, or this one will have an MT3 shank, and that will be the taper for the shell reamer. And then there's going to be a sleeve essentially that rides on a keyway and a nut. And the inside, of course, of the shaft here will have to be threaded for that nut so that I can pop the reamer off once you need to remove it. Pretty basic idea. So I drew it up in Fusion just so I can get my scale correct, because when I'm drawing it up on paper I never get the scale right. So I'm really glad I did that, because it allowed me to, fix a few things that I didn't realize I was going to do wrong. But essentially that's the idea. I'll move you on to here. I'm not going to bore you with any of the turning down. It's not fully turned down yet, but the taper right here is turned. And I didn't film that because I wanted to see if I was going to get it right, and it looks like it's about right. So that's the taper part, and this here will be the threaded part, and then the rest will be a shank and then the MT3. So I've done some grinding with a 60 grit, I believe this is. I believe, yeah, it's a 60 grit aluminum oxide stone, 60 of it, and I got it roughed round, left about a 5 thou on there, and then I'm going over it with the Kratex. Now, when you run over it with a Kratex wheel, the finish gets a lot nicer, and I don't know how much you can tell. These things are hard to tell on camera. From here it looks really quite nice. Not superb, but really quite nice. So I'm going to do one more pass here. I'll set you up on the other side, and we'll go from there. And then the machine. The finish really looks good. Okay. Oh man, that is fantastic. That looks better. I can see better at least. Oh yeah, I can definitely see better there. So lots of transfer here, and I think that's a fake spot right there, or it's not a real print, but it is contacting right at the back here as well too. So I wouldn't call this a great fit, but good enough for a shell reamer for sure. I mean, it does make contact, and it does stick in there really nice and tight. So I'm going to call that good enough. inch and 3/8. I only need an inch sleeve, but it needs to go all the way through. Let's see how this goes. All right. That was uneventful. So, this is going to be the sleeve for the boo-boo that I made. I will bring you guys over there in just a minute and show you what I'm going to do with this. Okay, so I wasn't going to bury this mistake, but I'm going to point it out here, big problem. So in my, when I was thinking about this, I knew that the largest size right here on the taper was going to be 0.625, so 5/8 of an inch. So I needed to add the, so what I decided to do is just take this measurement and add the depth of thread to this portion of the shaft. And the depth of thread here was going to be 35 thou. So I added 35 thou to this measurement right here, but I forgot to times that by 2 because that's only one side. And as a result, now this shaft right here, as you can see, I've turned it down now, but this portion of the shaft right here was not quite big enough to put a thread in there. And I realized that after I'd cut it, well, after I've turned it down and realized, oh geez, there isn't much material there to put a thread on. And then I went back to my drawing and figured out that's where I made the mistake. So what I'm doing instead here to try to fix, instead of rebuilding this whole thing, but that's not going to be an option, what I'm going to do, because I've done this before and it's worked well, again, I'm going to credit Robin Renzetti for this, for introducing me to this product. It's a Loctite AA326. It's a structural high performance adhesive. It's a two-part system. There's a, well, not a two-part, there's a primer and an actual adhesive. And this is a structural adhesive. This stuff is as strong as steel once it's set. And what I've done is I've turned a bushing essentially to the size of this section right here. Should have been a little tighter, but it's just a slip fit right now, which is fine because that will allow some adhesive to get in there and actually do its job. And then I'll be able to turn this down, well, thread this essentially to, I'll turn it down and thread it to, you know, wherever it's supposed to be. Oh, yeah, I'm going to make a mess of things. All right. Oh, shit. Nope. I better, oh no. Oh, fuck. Better get this off. Oops. Oh my God. What a disaster that almost turned out to be. I barely got that off on the vise. Just had to slam that thing off. It just grabbed, and so that was a mistake putting the glue on the inside of the bushing there, because of course that was going to coat the taper on the way in and grab, and that was the end of that. So got some acetone on here, cleaning this up. Now if I try to slide this on, doesn't go all the way, I'm going to run over to the vise and slam this down. Yeah, I couldn't get it on the last 1/8 inch, and I just had to go to the vise and slam her down, but phew, there she is. Let's see, camera. There it is right there. She's on. I'll wipe off that excess. I can always cut it off. I'll just let it cure for now, like that, and cut off that excess after. But essentially, there she is. That's how I fix screw-ups, and this should be fine. I'll let this cure for 24 hours before I put it on the lathe and turn it down, and I'll bring it back when I'm ready to cut some threads. Okay guys, back here with the threading part of the shell reamer holder. This part right here is the part that I'm going to be threading. I'm using a indexable thread insert. This is for a fine thread. I'm threading 16 TPI on the machine, and for 16 TPI, anywhere from 1 to 6, I can pick any number basically and drop the half nut and pick up. So it's going to be pretty straightforward. Okay, my speed I think is also set right, and yeah, I'll just set up the camera here and let's cut these threads. I have the nut already cut. I forgot to film the tapping, but you know, I was a little tired this morning. So anyway, there's the nut. I just threw it in the chuck and tapped it with a big tap. And 3 thou there, and I'm going to run it on a number. Alright. Okay, so, okay, let's see if that's correct. Yeah, right on the money. Okay, cool. Okay, let's see. Okay, I think I got it pretty close. This right now is going on like glass. It's perfect until... Oh, it's perfect. I just had to file it down. Zero wiggle, guys. Zero wiggle. That's just awesome. I nailed that one. Lucky, lucky, lucky. That was great. This is the best thread I've ever done. This is so nice. Like, there's just no wiggle here, guys. Nothing. That feels superb. All right. Okay, so that part is a success. Now we're off to the next part. All right, so now we're going to do, so this nut is done. I got this taper done. The thread part is done up to this part right there. And the next part is going to be to make this sleeve, essentially. It's a sleeve that's going to run up, and it's got two dog ears that will match up into the shell reamer right there. So that should be a pretty straightforward part to make. I got some dimensions. It's just over an inch, so 1.138 and 1.5 inches long. So we're going to turn that on the lathe, I think, first. And then I'll mount it in the mill and just mill the top parts off and make those ears. So let's do that next. There we go. Yeah, we're just going to be drilling holes here. Yeah, that should be good. Okay, I'm at 700 thou, so another 50 thou to take off. Alright, so that's the part right there. I basically have to make those two dog ears. So I'm going to mill away the, you know, the area around, essentially 400 thou down, and I have to leave the dog ears roughly 200 thou in width. Touch off. There we go. I'm going to do a sanity check here by making sure my numbers are correct. So 1288. There we go. Okay, we're back with a finishing end mill right now, and just have to do a cleanup. Okay, I'm at 202 or 190. Depends on what I grab here. There's some de-burring to do, but I'm over at my de-burring station. I use, let me zoom out here, a Proxon, there you go, kind of like a Dremel, runs a little slower, and but they're really nice quality. And at the tip I use a carbide de-burring thing here. And basically I just go around and deburr. Got this idea from Stefan Gottswinter like 6 years ago or so, and it's just fantastic. It's a great way, inexpensive way to deburr your stuff, so let's do it. Okay, let's see how that feels. Oh yeah, it's all nice. Alright, clean this up here a bit. Oh yeah. Very nice. Just a few licks, that's perfect. Awesome.